The ravens came one by one through Bran's broken dream. First, the world was a blur of fleeting feathers and half-remembered scents. The smoky tang of Winterfell's towers at dusk, the musk of straw in the stables, the chill of new-fallen snow. Then the scents vanished, swallowed by darkness as deep as the crypts beneath the castle. In that blackness Bran Stark floated, bodiless, sightless, until a sudden flare of green, alive, pulsing, like the heart of a great weirwood, blossomed before him. He felt the greenness tug at him, drawing him forward through unseen currents. The black gave way to moonlit sky. Wind roared in Bran's ears though he had no ears. Frost pricked his cheeks though he had no skin. Far below, two pale stone towers stood on either side of a river that glittered hard as steel. Twin banners snapped above the towers, one white and purple with pale horses ramping, the other crimson and gold with a lion rampant. Beneath, torches bobbed like fireflies. "This is not Winterfell," a part of Bran whispered, but the dream paid no heed. The scene plunged toward the torchlit bank. Music drifted up. Pipes, drums, the jangling laughter of men already drunk. A bridge arched between the towers, and on its crest a great pavilion shone with lamplight, bright as a beacon. Suddenly the torches guttered. A gust of ice-cold rain swept the bridge. The music faltered into a single shrill shriek. Red washed across Bran's sight, dark, sticky, the color of Maester Luwin's sealing wax. He smelled iron and wet wool and fear. In the pavilion a young wolf king in mail and wet sable turned, shocked, as crossbow strings thrummed. A quarrel sprouted between his ribs. Another punched through a silver trout brooch at his shoulder. Behind him a tall, fierce woman with auburn hair screamed wordless rage, and a knife flashed across her pale throat. "Robb!" Bran tried to cry, but the name echoed only inside his skull. "Mother!" The dream lurched. The towers fell away. Bran plummeted through the dark, faster, faster, feathers whipping his face. With a jolt he was the raven, wings beating, claws curved and sharp. He banked over a cold gray sea toward a long ship burning on black water, while men in kraken-emblazoned cloaks leapt into the waves. Again the vision tore. He was soaring above a crossroads inn, then over a snow-clad hill where bolts of lightning danced around a shadow giant in stone armor. Every heartbeat carried him elsewhere. 10 flashes of doom, 20, until he lost count, and each vision ended in blood. At last the darkness closed again like a fist. Out of it rose a single shape, a direwolf's head impaled on a tall pike. The wolf's eyes glowed green as a summer leaf, and in each I spun reflections of the twin towers and the pavilion awash in crimson. "Remember," a chorus of voices hissed. "Ravens, children, trees, dead kings. Warn them, Bran, the river runs red. Remember." Bran jerked awake in his bed of furs, the echo of that chorus fading into the low moan of the winter wind beyond his narrow window. Moonlight outlined the rafters. He did not scream. The shock had fused his throat shut. Instead he lay trembling, the taste of blood on his tongue and the images. The Wolf King, the red-washed bridge, the towers burning behind his eyes. When his breath steadied, Bran pushed himself upright. His broken spine refused to answer, yet some stubborn part of him still half expected his legs to swing off the mattress. They did not. Hodder was snoring in the nook outside, and Summer slumbered at the foot of the bed, one ear twitching at Bran's ragged breath. "Summer," Bran whispered. The dire wolf lifted his head, gold eyes catching the moon. Bran felt a pulse, 2 hearts beating, his and Summer's, not in unison but in a strange half-rhythm, as if a door between them had yawned open in the night. Summer whined, hackles rising. "We have to tell Father," Bran said, though Father was leagues away in King's Landing and would not hear. "But I can reach him," a fractional memory insisted. "Through ravens, through roots, through dreams." Maester Luwin came at dawn, summoned by Bran's frantic bell. The Maester's chain looked dull in the new morning. He listened quietly to every word, the towers, the banners, the pavilion, the screaming, and made notes on a scrap of parchment. When Bran finished, panting, Luwin set quill to desk and wrote 3 letters in a spidery hand. One to Lord Eddard, the maester murmured as he sprinkled sand over the wet ink. One to Lady Catelyn at Riverrun, and one to Robb here in Winterfell. Dreams are seldom windows to truth, Bran, but this one, he did not finish. Bran saw the doubt flicker across Luwin's lined face, yet the maester sealed each scroll with his bronze stamp of wax and iron. By noon 3 ravens beat south into a steel-gray sky. Bran watched from the window until they vanished beyond the broken tower where he had fallen. In King's Landing the ravens found Lord Eddard Stark pacing his solar above the Tower of the Hand, a missive from Stannis Baratheon open on the table. The city baked in late summer heat, yet Ned's heart was ice. Stannis confirmed what he had long suspected about Joffrey's bastardy, but duty bound his limbs like the wall itself. He could not in honor let Robert's soul be stained by lies. He would present the truth at the small council. Honor left no other path. When Vayen Poole brought the raven, Ned broke the seal expecting northern accounts of harvest or the training of new levies for the Night's Watch. Instead he found Bran's words, a child's scrawl dictated to Luwin, full of stumbles yet vivid beyond reason. Twin towers, Frey banners of horse, Lannister lion in the wind. Crossbows hid behind drums. Robb died, mother died, the wolf's head on a pike. Summer thrashes at chains. River runs red. Must not cross the bridge. Beware wedding music. Ned's sword hand tightened until the parchment crumpled. Bran had always dreamed, but the precise heraldry, the bridge, the pavilion, felt too detailed for childhood fancy. And what son would conjure his own brother's death? Ice water trickled down Ned's spine. He unrolled the second scroll, Luwin's measured script beneath the maester's rune. Lord Stark, it read, I write not to lend credence to every night fear of a broken boy, yet I confess this vision is unlike any Bran has known. He spoke in his sleep with a crow's voice. His direwolf howled as he dreamt. Should you deem it folly, forgive me, but I have learned to trust the old powers of the North. The sigils he named were the twins of House Frey, the Lion of Lannister, we know this, and yet he named also the Merman of Manderley, the Flayed Man of Bolton, and the Sunburst of Karstark, though he knew them not. These banners would never fly together save at a great host, or a great betrayal. Beneath, Luwin had scrawled one more line, Beware weddings beneath lions' eyes. Through the open shutters Ned heard the clamor of King's Landing rising. Smiths hammering, fishmongers bellowing, gold cloaks drilling in the Red Keep's yard. He saw, superimposed on that bustle, a snow-choked gods wood far away where red leaves whispered of ancient things. Ned had seen much unnatural in his years. Children crowned before their time, dragons' ghosts in the crypts of Valyria, the Night's Watch burying comrades whose eyes still moved. But nothing chilled him like Bran's dream. The children of the forest spoke through green dreams, olden and muttered. The weirwoods remembered, and the Starks, some said, carried a touch of that old magic. If this is warning, Ned thought, it is meant for me. Robb and Catelyn were safe in the Riverlands, for now. Yet Freys served the Lannisters when coin rattled. Roose Bolton was a lord of sharp smiles. Walder Frey was no friend to any save his own brood. 100 threads of suspicion tangled in Ned's mind. He could not ignore it. He would not. That dusk he sent word to Castellan Vayen Poole. A raven must fly to Moat Cailin commanding Robb to hold his army north of the Neck should war come. Another raven flew to Riverrun, advising caution and urging Catelyn to keep clear of the twins. To Stannis Ned wrote again, bidding him gather proof discreetly. Then he summoned Lord Renly and Ser Barristan to discuss the succession quietly, while keeping Varys ignorant, for now, and dismissed Littlefinger's latest oily suggestion that Sansa be wed to Joffrey. If Bran's dream foretold blood at a wedding, Ned would sooner see his daughters cloistered in the September of Baelor. On his last candle, Ned penned a personal letter to Robb. Trust no Frey. He signed it in a firm hand and sealed it with white wax stamped with the direwolf. When the raven was loosed into the velvet night, Ned Stark prayed to every god that the winds favored its wings. Robb Stark read his father's letter on the battlements of Moat Cailin while marshgas curled among the tumbled stones. The next autumn damp seeped into bone, but Robb felt only the heat of anger. He had ridden south with gray wind pacing his horse, burning to answer the king's call. Yet now father commanded him to sit idle while Lannisters swaggered in King's Landing and whispers of Jaime's raid on Riverrun spread like rot. Holding the parchment, Robb pictured the twins, that narrow river crossing commanded by aging Lord Walder. He had met the man once at a harvest feast. Frey's eyes had weighed every guest like a cut of venison. Grey men, faithless men, Lord Rickard Karstark had muttered after. Still, crossing Lord Walder's bridge meant speed. It meant steel in time to break Jaime's sieges. But father's words were stark. Trust no Frey. Hold your host north of the neck until I call you. Karstark, Great John Umber, Medjor Serwyn, they would not stomach delay. Men's swords rusted when sheathed too long, and honor stank when mixed with caution. Robb studied the Riverlands map Maester Vyman had pinned to pine boards. The Green Fork, the Whispering Wood, the twins astride the trident like a gauntlet. Crossed there, and he could strike at the Lannisters before they gathered. But a memory surfaced. Bran laughing beside the wolf's den, small and fearless though crippled. Bran's dream of blood. Father's trust in old magic. Robb clenched the railing. I will not shame my father's faith. He summoned his bannermen beneath the tattered direwolf banner rippling over the moat. By torchlight he spoke. Winterfell rides not to war for pride, but for justice. We will not sell our swords for a crossing sworn by a lord who breaks oaths as often as bread. Murmurs rose among the gathered lords. Great John Umber spat into the marsh. But Robb raised his hand for silence. We march east instead, around the neck, through Seaguard's lands. Lord Mallister will grant passage. We lose time, aye, but we keep our honor, and our kin safe from a Frey trap. Some cursed the bog roads and the lost days. Yet none spoke treason, for Robb's eyes shone with something deeper than command. Something half-wild, like grey wind's pale glare in moonlight. And in the hearts of Northmen, that look stirred old tales of stark kings who spoke with wolves. So the banners turned from the twins, leaving Walder Frey to count coin alone. At Riverrun, Catelyn Stark received Ned's raven, while the castle baked in late summer sun. Ser Edmure returned that dawn with word that Jaime Lannister's outriders hovered near the Golden Tooth, bold as eagles. Catelyn read first Bran's dream as copied by Maester Luwin, then Ned's warning. Keep clear of the twins. Watch Bolton. Roose Bolton had not yet declared for Robb, but rumors placed the flayed man banner mustering at the Dreadfort. Catelyn's breath snagged. If Bolton played fox and Frey played turncloak, her son's host might find daggers behind and before. Ned's fear iced her marrow. She found Ser Brynden Blackfish on the east battlement watching carp banners flap over the tumblestone. Uncle, she said, I must ride north, to meet Robb before he crosses into Frey's grasp. Brynden's weathered face tightened. The Kingslayer circles like a shark, Catelyn, yet I smell danger in that river crossing. Walder Frey has more kin than honor. Father sees it too. She handed the Blackfish Ned's letter. As he read, his mouth thinned. So, Brynden growled. The old gods send warnings in children's dreams now. I have marched beside less. He folded the parchment. Ride then. I will hold Riverrun, but take a strong escort, Ser Wendell, Ser Rabar, and a dozen picked outriders, and keep to back roads. Catelyn kissed him on the cheek. You were ever my shield, uncle. Mayhaps, he said gruffly, but heed this. If the wolf's dream be true, steel shall sing at a wedding sooner than a battlefield. Trust no smiling host. Catelyn rode at dawn, the green of the Riverlands blurring into dusty gray as she pushed her mare hard. Each mile pounded the dream deeper. Twin towers, crimson lion, screams and rain. Her prayer banners streaming from her staff whispered in the wind, Protect my children, old gods. Protect them from songs turned to screams. News travels swifter than ravens when driven by fear. In the Dreadfort's hall of Pinkstone, Roose Bolton read Ned Stark's letter intercepted by his daughter's maester and smiled a razor-thin smile. So Lord Eddard sends warnings to every cub, he murmured. Interesting. A pale-eyed squire cleared his throat. Shall we ride, my lord? The Lannisters pay well. Roose Bolton's fingers brushed the leech pot at his elbow. Inside, dark leeches writhed fat with his blood. The quiet lord considered the delicate flicker of candlelight in their glossy skins. Alliances were like leeches. They fed until swollen, then dropped away. "Not yet," he said. "The wolf dreams. Best see how deep the dream cuts." He flicked a single leech back into the pot and closed the lid. Back in Winterfell, Bran spent his days in the Godswood, summer prowling beneath the red leaves. He learned to close his eyes and breathe the scent of sap, to let the heart tree's face swim into his mind like a friend's. Sometimes the ravens came again. Tidings of riders skirting the neck, of a woman with Tully colors racing east. Bran did not know how he knew, only that when he opened his eyes the moss felt damp against his palms and his tears tasted of weirwood sap. "It is the green sight," old Nan croaked when Bran whispered of it. "Some Starks are born with one eye still open to the old powers. Them as praise in the gods would may hear the leaves talk if they listens." "But what good is it?" Bran cried. "I cannot ride like Robb or fight. All I can do is dream." "Dreams shape the world, boy," Nan said, smoothing his hair. "The world is no more than the tales we tell of it." Bran did not understand. He only knew that every night the dream returned, the twin towers brighter, the blood thicker, and each dawn summer woke snarling, as though hearing a hunter's horn across the snows. In King's Landing, Ned Stark's caution birthed a new chain of consequences. When Renly pressed him to move swiftly against Cersei, Ned insisted on proof and on allies. The Reach through Lord Mace, the Stormlands through Renly, perhaps even Stannis at Dragonstone. Littlefinger, sensing hesitation, offered gold and whispers, but Ned kept him at bay. On the morning Ned planned to present Robert with the truth, the king rode off for the hunt. 3 days later he returned, gored by a boar. On Robert's deathbed, Cersei tried to seize the royal seal, but Ned confronted her with a letter from Stannis publicly naming the children bastards of Jaime Lannister. More. Ned had arranged for Barristan Selmy and a dozen gold cloaks loyal to Janos Slynt to guard the small council chamber while Renly's household knights sealed the Red Keep's gates. Varys, seeing the winds shift, kept silent. The confrontation still came, but without Joffrey's sudden crowning, without the city's mob stirred. Jaime Lannister was 200 leagues away fighting Riverrun's host, and Cersei's allies were not enough. Cersei's arrest shook King's Landing like a hammer blow. Yet Ned's honor spared her children, the king's bastards though they were. Tommen and Myrcella were placed under guard in Maegor's holdfast. Joffrey, furious, was escorted to a chamber atop the Tower of the Hand, barred but not harsh. Then Ned sent ravens to every lord of Westeros. Robert's true heir was Stannis Baratheon. But news of Jaime's capture at Riverrun arrived with the same wind that bore Ned's ravens. The realm teetered, each lord weighing wolf and lion, stag and kraken. Battles still raged along the Trident, but without Walder Frey's betrayal the young wolf's host remained whole, and Lord Walder, slighted by lack of guests and coin, cursed both Stark and Lannister indiscriminately. And somewhere far north, Bran Stark dreamed of green leaves turning red, then white, then blooming again, seasons twisting on an oak branch. In that dream a dire wolf howled and 1,000 ravens took flight, their wings beating thunder into a sky no longer black but blue as summer. "It is changing," the chorus whispered. "You have changed it, but the song is not done." Bran woke with tears on his cheeks and, for the first time since his fall, a faint warmth along his numb legs, like distant firelighting a long cold hearth. 3 months later the autumn wind carried a different music to the twins. Not wedding pipes but the tramp of hooves as Roose Bolton arrived seeking passage. Walder Frey, still fuming at the Stark slight, heard Bolton's offer. Rich rewards, hostages, a Lannister alliance, and cackled that vengeance tasted sweet. Yet before the pact was struck, a sleek raven wearing the Dreadfort's ribbons landed on the battlements with a scroll. Lord Frey read it with a scowl, thrust it at Bolton. "They know," Frey rasped. "Stark eyes are upon us. Their wolves run every road." Bolton's pale gaze flickered. The scroll bore only 9 words. "The North remembers the flayed. We see your knives." Bolton burned the parchment over a candle's flame. "Fear not wolves, my lord. We need but gut them quick." But the pact never formed. For that night riders beneath Karstark banners swept the west bank, cutting Frey supply lines, while Lord Blackwood's archers harried from groves the Boltons dared not enter. A fortnight later, hearing that King's Landing had named Stannis as Robert's heir and that Eddard Stark now served as hand to the new king, Bolton withdrew to the Dreadfort to consider. Walder Frey, his purse lighter and pride bruised, cursed every bastard north of the neck. Yet he dared not join lions when the stag ruled in the capital and direwolves howled at every border. Winterfell's first snow that year fell in frosted silence. Bran wheeled through it in a wicker chair Hodder pushed, laughing as flakes caught in summer's fur. Maester Luwin walked beside, recounting the latest raven. Stannis Baratheon had been crowned in the dragon pit amid cheers, with Lord Eddard named protector. Cersei remained under guard pending trial. War still simmered in the west, but talk of peace envoys filled the quiet isle. "Perhaps," Luwin said. "Your dream turned the tide, Bran." Bran watched a single snowflake melt on his glove. "It wasn't me," he said. "It was the trees. The old gods wanted someone to listen. And you did." Luwin's smile was tinged with awe. "Few maesters would credit such power, but I have seen too much to doubt." Bran looked toward the godswood. The heart tree's face seemed softer today, the deep grooves of its eyes weeping not blood but bright water. "There is more," Bran whispered. "I still hear the song. The song says the night is long, and terrors come with cold." "Winter is coming," Luwin agreed gently. "But we will face it together, all of us." Bran nodded. Yet in his mind the green flame burned still. He saw beyond Winterfell, white shadows gathering at the rim of the world, blue stars burning in empty sockets, a horn of unimaginable power buried beneath layers of age. The dream had changed, yes, but not ended. Threads of fate tangled always. "But I am a Stark," Bran told the dreaming heart of the weirwood. "I will not let the dark swallow us." Far away on King's Landing's ramparts, Ned Stark stood beneath a sky clearing after storm, the salt tang of the Blackwater in his beard, and felt, for the first time since the king's hunt, a whisper of peace settle in his chest. He thought of Bran's dream, of the choice to heed it, and of the sun he had left north among falling snowflakes. "Thank you, Bran," he murmured to the wind, "for seeing." A raven wheeled overhead. Ned watched it soar east, black wings bright against winter-blue sky, until it was but a fleck of ink on parchment sky, carrying news, carrying warnings, carrying dreams. And he wondered, not for the first time, how many lives turn upon the flight of a single raven and the courage of a single boy to believe the impossible. The realm would never know how close it had come to that blood-washed pavilion, to the red river beneath twin towers, to a wolf's head rotting on a spike. Songs of Southron bards would speak instead of the green dream reprieve, of the wolf boy who saved a king, of the Stark who kept his head and his honor. Yet in lonely places, old men by hearth fires would whisper that fate could twist again, that other dreams might yet bleed. For the song of ice and fire is long, and every verse ends the same. Winter comes, but so do those who guard against it. And somewhere in the deep snows beyond the wall, a three-eyed raven stirred, its many-hued gaze turning south toward the boy whose dreams could change the world, and who had only just begun to fly. Dawn slow bloomed over the Blackwater like a bruised rose, pale reds and purples seeping across choppy water until the river shimmered with uncertain promise. Ned Stark stood on the tower of the Hand's narrow balcony, frost clinging to the greystone despite the southern autumn, and watched banners ripple in the courtyard far below. The stag of King Stannis rose highest now, its crowned head backlit by sunrise. Beside it flew the white sunburst of House Karstark, the merman of Manderley, the bear of Mormont. Northmen filled the red keep like migrating geese, hard men in wolf fur cloaks who eyed every gold cloak as though they sensed Lannister coin still clinked in hidden purses. Ned sipped watered wine he no longer tasted. 3 days had passed since Robert's pyre flamed on the Blackwater's banks, fed by cedar logs that hissed like vipers when the king's fat cracked beneath blue fire. The heat had driven Ned's daughters into Sansa's arms. Arya wept dry-eyed, jaw clenched, refusing comfort. The small council had stood silent as crows while Stannis spoke the funeral words. Now king and hand faced the first daylight of a realm newborn and half-sick. And already whispers gnawed. Renly's flight to High Garden. Littlefinger slipped beneath the city walls. Half the city watch muttering of unpaid wine allowances. War might yet kindle despite Stannis' crown. For the Lannisters still mustered in the west. Tyrells bristled over Renly's insult, and Balon Greyjoy's ravens perched restless on Pike's battlements. Ned's shoulder ached where Jaime's blade had once grazed him at the trident. Old pain, old memory. He pressed forearm to the cold stone rail, letting it steady him, and breathed salt until his thoughts nodded into purpose. Secure the capital, forge alliances, protect his children, and hold the king to justice. Plain tasks, yet each rife with hidden snares. Behind him the solar door creaked. Davos Seaworth crossed the threshold, humble in rough wool and the pouch of finger bones at his neck. Your grace bids you join him on the bastion of grace. Davos's voice carried the sea's rasp. Envoys approach up the river. The king would have your counsel when they land. Ned nodded, handing over the half-empty cup. Who dares parley at sunrise? A swan ship by the look, white sails, green stripes, the rose of High Garden upon her prow. Davos pursed his lips. And another black sails, red trident. Rivermen. So, Renly thought better of sulk and sends feelers, Ned mused. While Riverrun seeks sure footing now Jaime sits in an iron cage. Tell the king I come. Sansa Stark felt the castle breathe beneath her shoes. She walked the maiden vault's long gallery alone, her feet tracing blue tiles patterned like rolling waves. Septa Mordain had drilled that a proper lady should never hurry, but Sansa's steps were small only because fear cinched her ribs, not because she clung to grace. She kept her gaze forward, chin high, like the ladies of songs when they walked to meet heroes or headsmen. The gallery windows overlooked the godswood. A black rook hopped among orange leaves, its caw echoing in the alcoves. Sansa thought of Bran's letter, the green dream that had changed everything, and wondered if ravens carried other children's warnings even now. She pressed a palm to the glass, cool as morning fog. Behind her a soft tread. She stiffened, half expecting Ser Meryn's iron plates, but it was Barristan Selmy in white cloak and plain boiled leather, helmet tucked beneath one arm and moon-pale hair straggling at his temples. He bowed, flawlessly courteous. My lady, the king commands you break fast with him and your lord father at midday in the garden of the Red Keep. His blue gaze held weary worry. His grace means to speak of your betrothal. Sansa's stomach fluttered like startled pigeons. Once she had dreamed only of princes. Now betrothal sounded like a sword's edge. Who would wield it? Where it would fall? My betrothal, sir? Lord Renly seeks pardons, Selmy said gently. He offers his ward, Ser Loras, as hostage of good faith, and whispers that your hand might heal wounds between stag and rose. Sansa imagined Ser Loras's laughing eyes above his painted helm, the way girls on the street of Silk sighed at his tournament grace. Yet she saw another scene overlay. Loras wrestling clumsily with Renly behind pavilion hangings, light and silk shifting. She knew rumors, rumored long before she understood them. Suddenly the red sun over the Blackwater felt very far away. My father will guard your honor first, Selmy said. Still, the realm needs quiet. King Stannis is iron, he bends, though seldom. Yet he will listen to Lord Stark. He paused. And to you, perhaps, if you speak with the heart of the North. Sansa laid a hand on her skirts to hide their trembling. She thought of wolves and words. Winter is coming. I will do my duty, Ser Barristan, she whispered. He offered an arm. Together they left the empty gallery. Arya Stark hated the Red Keep's garden. She crouched behind a fountain crusted with pink moss, her fingers stained with dirt from scaling a sea-washed wall she was sure even cats avoided. She spied through lavender bushes. Gendry and Hot Pie both munching stolen rolls while a Tyrell guard haggled with a serving wench at the far gate. That guard, like most, watched for crossbowmen, not skinny girls with water dancer feet. Arya's stolen dagger. its hilt wrapped in cloth to hide its lion pommel, felt heavy on her calf. She fingered the blade's point, remembering Sirio's maxim. The water dances over stone, unseen, silent. Bran's dream had saved father, yes, but Lannisters still prowled the city's shadows. Lions with broken claws but sharp teeth. Arya meant to carve out their secrets. Footsteps crunched gravel. Arya pressed flatter. Two voices. Says little, but Roose Bolton sends letters most curious. If Fry denies passage, the Northmen stay east. Lines thin at the Golden Tooth. A low reply. If the wolf cub delays too long, Tywin will crush Tully and march on King's Landing before Stannis nails his claim. I'm counting on it, hissed the first. Chaos is a ladder. Arya's heart drummed like raven wings. Little finger. She edged forward. Glimpse of a mockingbird pin on velvet doublet. Next to him strode Lord Varys, bald pate gleaming, silk slippers whispering. We grow bold, Lord Peter, Varys cooed. Should the king hear? The king hears only his conscience, and Stark's frosty nattering. Littlefinger sneered. I sow good coin in river mud. Our flowers shall bloom red. They vanished beneath twisty arbors. Arya exhaled, darted back toward fallen columns where Gendry dozed. She would find father. She would tell him of ladders and blood flowers. And maybe, just maybe, she would slit Lord Baelish's purse open on the way. In the Bastion of Grace, sunlight slanted through narrow murder holes, striking oily glints along steel helms. King Stannis Baratheon stood at the parapet's edge flanked by Davos and Preston Greenfield, while Ned halted beside the king, wind whipping his cloak. Below, two galleys docked at river stairs. First came the Swan ship. From her gangplank strode Ser Loras Tyrell shimmering in gold-trimmed green, white rose cloak billowing. He held no lance now, but a gilded scroll. Behind him climbed Lady Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, small and sharp-eyed, leaning on a tall cane topped with a silver rose. Lanternflies danced round her face. She swatted them like lords. The black-sailed trireme disgorged a solemn party. Ser Edmure Tully in chainmail, Lord Tytos Blackwood, and Septon robes bright above river mud. Two harps followed, borne by pages. Stannis exhaled, face stern as cold iron. They come singing and scenting the air like dogs. Very well. Let us hear their pleas. Ned nodded, but his mind flicked north. He wished dearly for Catelyn's counsel. Her letters from the neck stirred dread. Bolton's moves uncertain, Greyjoy's silence ominous, Frey's offended pride coiling like a snake among reeds. Bran had pulled a single arrow from the weirwood's quiver, but many still flew. Men escorted envoys up the winding steps. Lady Olenna arrived first, pointing her cane at Stannis, ignoring bows. So here stands the king, she said in reedy voice. Taller than Robert, though lean as a bean. I bear compliments from Highgarden, majesty, and a gift. Words of peace. Stannis's jaw worked. Words may serve, deeds better. She sniffed. Deeds require soil and water. Highgarden offers both. Throw in a little sunshine. Perhaps your dour grace might bloom. Loras flushed crimson, but Ned caught a flicker of amusement in Davos's eyes. Stannis only said, Speak your terms, Lady Olenna. Prince Renly asks safe return and pardon. He yields all claim to crown, acknowledges you rightful king. In exchange, my grandson Ser Loras offers himself hostage at court and, should your hand consent, his hand seeks that of Lady Sansa Stark. United houses, north and reach to gird your throne. Ned's jaw tightened. Tyrell roses entwining with winter roses of Stark? Political bomb indeed. Sansa might find comfort with Loras's gentle charm, yet rumors of his secret affections cut like late frost. But alliances demand sacrifice. Stannis's eyes traveled to Ned. Lord Stark, Ned answered carefully. My daughter's welfare is my first duty, yet I am lord but not king. Her heart weighs. He paused, thinking of Sansa's last tearless vow, and she must choose freely. Still, I see merit in bonds with Highgarden. Lady Olenna tapped his boot. Free choice? How refreshingly naive. Women rarely choose in such matters, Lord Stark. But we may at least pretend and spare her tears. Loras scowled, then unrolled the scroll. Parchment heavy with signatures of Highgarden bannermen pledging swords to the Iron Throne if the Rose found fertile ground. Stannis studied the list, finger-tracing names. Very well. We shall sup tonight and determine if thorns and wolves may share a garden. Next Edmure Tully knelt, bowing so stiffly his new chain shirt clinked. Your Grace, Riverrun begs recognition of loyal service. The Kingslayer languishes in our dungeon. Lord Tywin sues for his son. We beg directive. Stannis handed the Tyrell scroll to Davos, turned to the River Lord. The lion's cub must face judgment. King's Landing will hold him. Ned's breath hitched. Transporting Jaime Lannister across war-torn riverlands would spark blades. Yet justice required kings to tame lions. Lord Edmure, Ned said, arrange escort of 500 seasoned rivermen. I shall send Northmen and crown knights. No lion host may break such shield. Edmure nodded, hope shining. Yet as agreements inked, the bastion's shadow lengthened, and across the bay, smoke coiled from flea-bottom chimneys. In that smoke Ned glimpsed dire tidings, for ravens rarely perched long with easy news. On the wall, Jon Snow shivered atop the Night Fort's crumbled gate. Wind sliced from beyond like ghost claws. Ghost the direwolf trotted at his side, tail lashing. Below, torch dots marked patrols across the courtyard, where new recruits trained under Ser Donal Noy's watchful eye. Lord Commander Jeor Mormont climbed final steps, breath frosting. Word from south, lad. Mormont proffered a ragged scroll. Your brother sowing alliances, your father hand again. The old bear's eyes gleamed. Good tidings. Jon scanned the missive, relief warring with ache. Robb alive, Bran dreaming, father safe. And yet winter pressed on the wall with relentless fists. Whispers of white shadows multiplied. Scouts vanished beyond the Milkwater. Castle Black brimmed with frightened boys. I'm glad, Jon said, unable to summon smile. But the dead walk, Commander. Alliances won't halt them. Mormont nodded. Aye. Yet a realm united sends aid men steel. We ride for the fist of the first men at Moon's turn. When the king hears, he must send more. Jon gazed northward where mountains ripped the sky. Lightning glimmered far off. Strange green flicker like wildfire in storm clouds. He touched Ghost's fur. I'll ride with the vanguard. You will, Mormont grunted. You and your wolf. As the old commander descended, Jon lingered, hearing nothing but wind and Ghost's low growl. In dreams he had walked with Bran in endless forests under green moons. He sensed a thread between them taut as bowstring. Somewhere Bran pulled, shaping paths even here. Jon whispered into frost, "Watch over us, little brother." The wind carried back a faint whisper, maybe only shifting snow. Yet Jon fancied it spoke 3 words. I am trying. Night fell upon the red keep with a golden hush. Torches rimmed the Godswood Pond where supper lanterns floated like amber lilies. Highgarden musicians plucked lutes. Rivermen sang harmonies. Davos shook salt from cod onto barley. It was a peace feast, though knives flashed at every belt. Sansa sat beside Ser Loras beneath a weeping willow whose silver leaves brushed her sleeve. He poured honeyed wine, speaking softly of roses bred to bloom blue, of the Reach's orchards where nightingales sang. His smile was unfailingly kind, but his gaze slid often toward the marble path where Ser Renly paced with Ser Rabar Royce, the air between them taut as drawn string. Sansa's heart pinched with pity and fear. Chains invisible yet heavy linked her life to alliances she scarcely grasped. Across the pond, Arya perched on a branch, knees under chin, unseen in mottled tunic Varys's ragpickers would call beggar's cloth. She had told father of Baelish's plotting. He had gone very still, thanked her, and bade her keep watch tonight. Arya obeyed, though she'd rather wield needle than spy. Below, Lord Peter glided among guests, all courtly smiles, yet his eyes flicked like knives counting ribs before cut. Arya marked every step. Ned stood near the heart tree, speaking with Lady Olenna and Ser Barristan. Stannis, grim in black velvet, shared silent wine with Davos. The hush broke when a breathless gold cloak sprinted through torchlight, fell to one knee beside the king. His whisper cut the music, harp strings stilled. "Greyjoy sails, your grace," the man panted. 5 longships, burned at anchor in the Lynchesport. Lord Celtigar reports raiders vanish north into narrow sea. Ravens lost. An electric ripple passed among seated lords. Balon Greyjoy harried coasts while North and Reach looked inland. Old wound reopening. Stannis rose, expression stone-hard. "I warned that Kraken would test my rule. He finds the realm unguarded? He will regret." Lady Olenna sipped wine. "Best clip his tentacles afore they reach round your throat." Davos cleared his throat. "Sea power answers sea power. Send the royal fleet. After winter storms abate," Stannis said. "Until then, garrison every harbor from Duskendale to Gulltown. Lord Stark, we require Northmen at White Harbor to shield grain convoys." Ned nodded, mind racing. Manderley already strained provisioning Stannis' cause, but duty lay north. He would write Wyman ask vow of ships and levy. Meanwhile, Greyjoy raids meant Bolton must stand watch over the Dreadfort's coast. Another leash on the flayed man. The feast resumed, brittle as thin ice. Yet Ned felt currents shifting. Krakens stirring, lions caged, roses weaving with wolves. And above, a half-moon shone white, mirrored in pond ripples, as though Bran's green dream cast pale light on every heart. Roose Bolton sat alone in his solar, candlelight wounding his colorless eyes. A raven feather lay across a map of the neck. He turned it with one pale finger. "Strike now," whispered a shadow voice. His maester gone, his bastard son deep in kennels beyond. Roose's leeches wriggled in jars, drinking his blood, urging calm. Yet calm fought with ambition. The Starks grew stronger each raven. King in capital, sons at war, daughters soon bound to roses. Every path narrowed. Another parchment lay curled. Lord Varys's promise of southern gold if the Bolton blade struck Wolfheart, and Frey's secret oath to assist, for price. Roose's eyes slid to the window where first snow dusted battlements. "The North remembers," he murmured, "but memory is malleable." He stubbed candle flame with thumb and watched darkness bloom. Beyond the wall, in a cavern aglow with ghost fire mushrooms, the three-eyed raven perched on a throne of twisted roots. Bran Stark stood before him. Not boy, not man, dream shape woven of leaf and snow. "You turned rivers, little warg," croaked the raven. "Yet rivers still run to sea. The sea brings death." Bran's dream voice quivered. "Tell me how to stop it. Blood must answer blood." The Kraken awakens. The lion roars caged. A bolt of flayed skin splits the wolf pack. To mend, you must see the thread before it frays. Bran reached forth. Roots seeped pale sap like tears. "Show me." The raven's many eyes blinked. In one eye, Winterfell blazed under golden banners. In another, a direwolf crossbow killed beneath a pink flayed man. In a third, a ship of black sails drifted into silent harbor, flames licking her mast as shadow figures leapt ashore. "You must fly further," the raven said, "into heart of storm. Find the horn that wakes sleepers. Only then can wall of lies fall, and true winter be faced." Fear fluttered wings in Bran's chest. Where is it? Where snow meets sea and dead kings whisper in drowned halls. The raven flapped, become swirl of black feathers. "Go, green seer. Time grows short." Bran hurtled awake beneath Heart Tree, panting into mid-morning frost. Summer lay beside, eyes gold and urgent. Bran clenched roots, feeling sap pulse like blood. He knew what must be done. "Mira," he called. The reeds emerged, Jojen pale as ghost. "I saw too," Jojen said solemnly. "We sail north to the land of always winter." "Sail, be," Ran echoed. "A ship waits at White Harbor. Manderley's secret gift to your father," Jojen whispered. "The black wolf with silver sails. We must reach it before Kraken strike." Bran's heart hammered. Journey beyond wall, horn of winter, secrets deeper than dreams. Yet he felt thread tugging. If broken, rivers of blood would drown south and north alike. He lifted chin. Then we ride at dusk. Summer howled, sound carrying over ramparts, startling ravens skyward. In King's Landing, Ned Stark paused mid-letter as a gust rattled window shutters and a wolf cry seemed to echo faint across leagues. He touched quill to parchment, ink blotting like spilled night. What unseen bond binds hearts? He wondered, that a father feels his son's call through wind and time. He wrote one line more, "Remember the North, remember the children," and sealed it with dire wolf wax. Then he turned to fresh parchment, beginning orders for White Harbor. Provision a stout black-hulled vessel, crew sworn in silence, chart secret course for a boy who dreamed green. Moonless dark draped the red keep when Arya slipped along shadowed halls toward the Tower of the Hand. Father's chambers glowed candle light. She tapped thrice. A sparrow's peck, her secret knock. The door opened and Maester Cresson ushered her in, nodding. Ned sat armored, ice across his knees. Papers lay stacked, wax seals cooling. He smiled wearily at his youngest daughter. "My wolf shadow returns. What saw you?" Arya recounted Littlefinger and Varys's whispers. Every word. Ned's mouth set. "Ladders and blood flowers," he murmured. "Baelish seeks to pit Fry against us, Bolton as spear. I feared as much." He rose, kissed Arya's brow. "You are my silent blade, little one. Keep listening." "I want to fight," she protested, eyes bright. "You will, when the true enemy comes." He stroked her hair. "For now, a sword in darkness is worth 10 in open field." Arya sighed but nodded. She felt taller when father praised her. Ned turned to Cresson. "Send Raven to Walder Frey. Stannis offers his twins as wards for crossing rights, gold for bridge repair, and justice seats at court. Sweeten loyalty with coin before Baelish poisons it." Cresson bowed. Ned sank onto bench, weary. So many ravens, so many threads, he thought. A day may come when even Bran's dreams cannot mend them. Yet in that moment he felt hope, flickering like hearth flame against long night. Outside, across narrow starlit water, the black cells held Cersei Lannister behind stout oaken door. She lay awake, counting cracks in ceiling, hatred coiling. Jaime was caged, her children hostage, but lions in chains still bite. Cersei closed her eyes, picturing wildfire caches mapped by pyromancers under septs and granaries. A single spark can torch a garden of roses and wolves alike, she mused. Far to the west, Tywin Lannister surveyed columns of smoke rising from raided villages, read Stannis' proclamation naming him Oathbreaker, and placed quill on parchment inviting a pact with Balon Greyjoy. Gold for drowned men, ships for lions, as long as Kraken claws shredded Stark and Baratheon supply lines. Tyrion, at his side, watched silver ink dry and felt dread like fetters. Every corner of the realm teetered on blade edge, yet beneath the turning stars a crippled boy's green dream still fluttered wings, guiding hearts to choices that might yet avert rivers of red. The song's next verse waited, ice meeting storm, dream meeting steel, and no mortal singer could yet say if winter winds would howl dirges or ballads of dawn. But somewhere in the haunted forest north of the wall, a horn of black glass and twisting runes lay buried under ancient snow, its silent promise thrumming through the earth. Wake and shatter, call and answer. Wolves, krakens, lions, dragons. All would bend when that horn sounded, for it belonged not to men but to powers older than crowns and keeps. And Bran Stark, eyes bright with weirwood light, had set his foot, his mind, his will upon the path to find it. The tale breathed, alive. The night deepened, the ravens flew on. The wind that swept down from the white knife carried brine, pine sap, and a secret too weighty for any single breath. It curled around the battlements of White Harbor's wolf's den, rattled banners of leaping trout and roaring mermen, and skirled through the narrow quays where black-hulled ships strained at their hawsers like chained hounds eager for the hunt. On the tallest dock, Bran Stark sat bundled in a sable cloak lined with soft gray rabbit, Summer's great head resting across his thighs. Mira Reed crouched beside them, her braids stiff with frost, while Jojen stood back, eyes half-lidded, as though he already walked some other shore invisible to the rest. Below, Lord Wyman Manderley waddled from warehouse to warehouse, issuing orders in a booming voice that made the gulls scatter. Despite the winter's bite, sweat shone on his cheeks. Even Manderley Blubber felt the pinch of haste. Beside him glided Davos Seaworth, one gloved hand absently touching the pouch at his neck where finger bones clacked when he turned. Stannis's hand for the seas whispered with White Harbor's lord, their plotting lost in the thump of casks being rolled up gangplanks and the creak of tackle. They patched the hull overnight, Mira murmured, nodding at the vessel waiting beyond the wharf. She was slim as willow, but her voice held steely confidence. Named her Shadowcat now to please the Northmen, but she sailed last under Lysine colors hunting mummer troops for the Triarchs. Bran's gloved fingers brushed Summer's fur. The direwolf's eyes were fixed on the water, hackles half raised as though scenting rippled secrets beneath the green-gray skin of the tide. Shadowcat's a good name, Bran said. Cats move quiet. We'll need quiet if we're to slip past Kraken patrols. Jojen finally spoke. Past Krakens and deeper things. The sea is not the sea it was. The currents dream of dragons and ice serpents both, and every dream leaves bones in its wake. Mira's glance flicked to her brother, worry tugging her mouth. Dream later, Jojen. For now, we must sail before dusk. Balon's longships were sighted raiding east of the rills yesterday. If they swing south, they may glimpse a black wolf on the horizon. Bran nodded, though dread beat its wings within him. Every step he had taken since the heart tree whispered had led to this dock, this ship, this frigid dawn. Yet he felt unready, still half a child with legs that clung limp and useless though his spirit burned. He steeled himself by recalling Ned's last letter, delivered by Raven not 2 days prior. The Horn of Winter may be more than legend, Bran. Sail swift, my son. Trust the old gods and trust yourself. Trust yourself. Harder than trusting weirwoods or ravens, Bran thought. But he reached inside toward that green-lit chamber of his mind, opened it a crack, and felt the pulse of distant trees, the hush of falling snow, the long hum of stone older than kings. The old gods answered with silent strength that steadied his hands. Lord Wyman finished his rounds and lumbered to the gangway, panting. A fine morning for her maiden voyage under Stark banner, he boomed, wiping brow with silk kerchief embroidered with dancing dolphins. Provisions loaded: salt pork, smoked eel, dried cherries, pickled cod, and a barrel of sister's stew strong enough to wake the dead. His laugh boomed, but Davos's smile was rueful. Let's hope they stay asleep, my lord. Our captain swears 5 whites floated past Eastwatch last full moon. Summer bared teeth at that. Bran laid a calming hand on his ruff. We'll reach Greywater, what, 10 days if winds hold? 7 if the gods favor us, Davos said. We hug shore from Flint's Finger up to Skagos, then across the shivering sea until we make landfall on the crags east of Storold's Point. A hidden harbor there, charted only on smuggler skins, will let us take fresh water. Past that, it's wild coast and glacier teeth. Mira exhaled a plume of vapor. And then beyond the wall, Davos said softly, if Lord Commander Mormont still rides the Milkwater, we'll pass under watchful haunted towers. But tales say they range far now, chasing shadows. We may slip through empty gates, or gates guarded by things worse than emptiness, Bran thought. Yet the vision of the Horn burned bright, tugging him north, and he knew every tide and wind would bend to that pull. Footsteps crunched snow behind. Bran turned to see a young man in Maester's black and gray, fur-lined cowl framing earnest eyes. Maester Theomir, Lord Wyman said, chosen to sail with you. Bookish enough to soothe any child of books, yet knows poultices for frostbite, and tongue quick with prayers, should we need them. Bran forced a smile. Welcome, Maester. I hope you won't need to stitch too many of us. Theomir bowed, eyes troubled. I am honored. The old gods and the 7 both guard such a journey. Davos clapped Bran's shoulder. Come, my lord, we cast off on the turn of tide. As Bran and his companions wheeled toward the gangway, a horn blast rang across the harbor. Deep, mournful, and all too near, sailors froze mid-heave. Gulls screamed into the gray. On the northern horizon, dark masts breached the sea's lip like black spines. A second blast answered from the white harbor ramparts. Manderley guards scrambled for ballistae. Greyjoy raiders, Davos cursed. 3 longships, no more, but close. Wyman spat. Bloody squid. Send them back to their slimy mothers. He barked orders, and across the docks crossbows cocked, catapults cranked. Bran felt Summer's warning growl resonate through his bones. Fear sparked, but certainty blazed brighter. The sea would not delay his fate. We need wind, Bran thought to the trees, though none grew here save timbers in ship beams. We need speed. In reply, an unexpected gust rolled down from snow-capped highlands, whipping sails that had not yet been unfurled. Tarps rattled.
Robson.
Davos seized the omen, roaring, "Cast off!" Sailors leapt, hacking mooring lines. The Shadowcat lurched seaward, oars sweeping like black wings. Bran's chair was hauled up the swaying plank. Mira followed, Jojen gliding silent. From the quay, Lord Wyman raised a meaty fist. "Go, wolves! The Manderley fleet shields your stern." Ballista bolts sang overhead as Bran rolled onto deck. The Shadowcat heeled west, wind snapping her fresh wolf banner. Behind, White Harbor's knights lit tar pots and catapults howled flaming shot. One longship's sail burst orange, men leaping into icy bite beneath. Bran watched till the raider hulls shrank to specks. Gulls cried like distant ghosts. Then he pivoted chair to face prow and the blank white miles ahead. "We sail," he whispered, and the old gods whispered back through the wind. North. Far south. The King's Road wound through gold-leafed willows and red maples that had bled early, their colors flaring like torchlight in a dusk that came too soon. Robb Stark rode at the head of 4,000 spears, gray wind pacing his stallion with silver shadow grace. Archmaester Vyman's latest raven lay tucked in Robb's saddlebag. News that Greyjoys skirmished near White Harbor, that Bran had sailed, and that Roose Bolton's levies convened at the Dreadfort but marched nowhere. Karstark reigned beside Robb, beard stark against his breastplate. "See raiders behind, lions ahead, and foxes in the bolt holes," he growled. "The neck would drown lesser men in mud, but our boots stain Lannister lands this fortnight or we lose all." Robb nodded, jaw tight. He had chosen this slower coast road over the swift crossing at the Twins as father commanded. It cost him time, but not his mother's life, not the honor of guest right, not the heart-blood of northern lords in a crimson feast. For that, he would accept delay and risk. Yet each raven from Ned told of Tywin scraping banners in the west, of Kevin marching, of Strickland's golden company rumored near Storm's End. War blossomed like frost mold. "First we must save Seaguard," Robb said. "Lord Jason Mallister holds, but Greyjoy sails darken his harbor. Once the Kraken retreats, we ride the Red Fork hard." "The Kraken never retreats," Karstark muttered. "Only coils for next strike." Grey wind snarled as though in answer, hackles bristling at scent riding wind's edge. Robb felt the bond surge, fear, anger, hunger. Scouts galloped from the vanguard. Seaguard's smoke plumed against sunset. They spurred, hoofs thundering. Miles melted. Robb crested a low rise, and the bay of Fairmarket stretched, wine-dark and boiling with sails. Iron-borne ships circling broken fishing cogs, fires licking Seaguard's outer palisade. Yet the stone tower still stood, Jason Mallister's silver eagle banner tattered but defiant. Robb raised steel. Horns sounded thrice. The north rushed down like an avalanche. Spears shattered rearguard skiffs. Arrows rained from Karstark longbows. Kraken ranks met wolves on muddy shore, shield walls grinding, waves sucking at corpses. The melee churned. Robb felt gray wind leap, rend, howl. Ironborn axes bit mail. Umber hammers broke helms. Amid stench of salt and blood, Robb's sword rang against a two-pronged axe etched with a drowned man. Victarion Greyjoy loomed, bronze beard clotted. One eye glinting murder. "Boy wolf," he roared. "I'll gut you for my brother's crown." They clashed, steel sparks dancing. Victarion's brute strength drove Robb back, but wolf agility answered. A feint, a parry. Victarion's breastplate split, blood spurting. Yet he lunged, punching pommel into Robb's ribs. Breath left him. Darkness flickered. Gray wind intercepted, tearing at Victarion's helm. Ironborn shrieked, but horns sounded distant. 3 short, 1 long. Seaguard's gate opened, Mal-Lister knights charging to relieve. The tide turned. Victarion, bleeding, broke away toward his flagship, shoving sailors aside. Robb would have pursued, but a crashing thunder within signaled his broken rib and the price of valor. He let Victarion flee to sea, blood in the water marking shame. The battle ended by dawn. Fires guttered. Seaguard stood, though charred. Robb hobbled to Tower Hall where Lord Mal-Lister, scorched and weary, bent knee. "The wolf saved the eagle," Mal-Lister said hoarsely. "My sword is yours." Robb clasped his arm. "Hold the coast. Lord Manderly's ships must sail unmolested. Bar your gate to every ironborn." "Aye, Lord." Mal-Lister's eyes softened. "You fight like your father at the Trident." Praise felt hollow when ribs grated. Yet Robb smiled, because victory fed hope, and hope fed the north. That night, under a healer's poultices reeking of vinegar, Robb dreamed. He stood on a bridge between 2 towers beneath storm-torn banners. Wolf and eagle on one side, kraken and lion on the other. Blood pooled at his boots. Across it, Bran walked, whole and tall, green light in his eyes. "You chose well," Bran whispered, "but the kraken dives. The flayed fox bares teeth. Beware the next feast, brother." Gray wind howled awake, startling Robb upright. Pain seared, but more chilling was memory of flayed fox. Bolton. Robb vowed then to keep Roose close yet never again within sheathing range. In King's Landing, the heat clung despite autumn and the sea breeze stank of fish gone to rot. Arya Stark crouched on the tiled roof above the Alchemist's guild hall, shadowed by chimneys belching green-tinged smoke. Beneath, Lord Peter Baelish emerged with a slender man in heavy cloak whose hands glittered with copper rings, Wisdom Haleen of the Pyromancers. They spoke in low tones drowned by Guildhall clamor, but Arya saw trembling eagerness on Haleen's face, predatory satisfaction on Peter's. Baelish passed a parchment sealed with mockingbird, then another smaller ribbon-tied bag, likely gold. Haleen bowed, eyes widening. They parted. Baelish strolled to a waiting litter, while Haleen scuttled back inside. Arya pressed ear to a vent, catching words riding furnace whoosh. "Wildfire caches beneath the dragon pit already primed, my lord. The next beneath the sept requires only the king's saltpeter levy." Her heart hammered. Wildfire. Cersei's imprisoned, but Baelish sets fires. She slithered down the roof, clambered an ivy trellis, and vanished into the maze of alleys like a quick dart. She found father on the terrace outside the Tower of the Hand, speaking with Stannis and Selmy. His brow furrowed when Arya tugged his sleeve. "Peter's moving wildfire," she blurted. "Caches under the sept, dragon pit too." Stannis stiffened. "My city shall not burn for the Whisperer's ladder." Ned's jaw clenched. "Arya, are you certain?" "Sure as steel," she insisted. Stannis turned to Selmy. "Assemble loyal Kingsguard. Search every alchemist's storehouse. Arrest Wisdom Haleen. Hold him for truth." Then he fixed Ned with hard blue gaze. "And Peter Baelish?" "Slippery as lamprey," Ned sighed. "He hides behind coin and courtiers." He squeezed Arya's hand. "But we'll clip his wings." Arya smiled grimly. She would help clip. That eve, as the moon waxed pale, fires bloomed green along Aegon's high hill, controlled burns by crowned soldiers dousing suspect barrels before they rotted. The city murmured of plague of ghosts, but wildfire's menace dimmed. Baelish, however, was gone. Last seen boarding a river sloop with black sails bound for Maidenpool. His trail, for now, ran cold. Yet Ned knew cunning men seldom slumber. He doubled guards on Sansa and Arya, and sent ravens to every Crownlands harbor instructing seizure should a mockingbird appear. At Riverrun, Catelyn Stark paced ramparts lit by torches while Tully men sparred below. Ravens from King's Landing told of wildfire plots, of Tyrell courtship, of Stannis shaping law into steel. But messages from Robb spoke of Seaguard's defense and Greyjoy menace. And none came from Bran, only Ned's cautious hope. Catelyn raised eyes to winter stars. Robb's battles, Bran's voyage, Sansa's betrothal, they pulled her into 9 directions. She longed to mount a swift courser, ride from castle to castle weaving children into her arms. But war spun wheels bigger than mother's reach. She whispered prayer to the mother, that each child walk in light. Blackfish Brynden joined her, cloak snapping. Scouts confirm Lannister outriders near the Trident's eastern ford. Tywin tests our lines. Catelyn's shoulders tensed. We mustn't let Jaime's escort cross swords with his father's host. Edmure readies to march south and deliver the Kingslayer to King's Landing. But if Tywin intercepts, then Cersei gains leverage, Brynden finished. The dead boar's tusk may still gore us. Jaime must reach Ned, Catelyn insisted. I'll ride with the escort myself if I must. Brynden frowned, then nodded. Your presence may stay rash swords. We leave on the morrow at dawn. I'll pick 100 strongest river knights. And hostages. Karstark will send sons, Catelyn murmured, thinking of Lord Rickard's grief. They guard their own anger as much as Jaime's. Brynden's look said he doubted any shield could stay a father's vengeance. But he yielded. Catelyn watched the river shimmer below. She remembered Bran's dream of blood at a wedding. Averted. Now another thread of doom wove through outrider hoofbeats and whispered betrayals. She resolved to slice that thread before it knotted. Jaime Lannister lingered in Riverrun's deepest cell, wrists chafed raw by manacles dull with rust. Yet his eyes retained lion glint, bored, amused, dangerous. When Edmure entered with Catelyn, Jaime lounged against straw. Lady Stark, he drawled, what joy! Come to confess your secret yearning. Catelyn. En's mouth became a thin line. I come to deliver you to justice. He arched gold brow. Justice is a sword with many hilts. Which hilt is yours, widow? Edmure stepped forward, temper flaring, but Catelyn raised palm. You will ride at dawn under guard to King's Landing. No heroics, no tongues. If you attempt escape, we take your hand. Jaime smiled crooked. But my hand's the famous one. Kingslayer's right. Without it, I'd be half a legend. Half a legend is more than you deserve, she said evenly. But my sons' lives are worth even a whole Kingslayer. His smile faltered, if only a heartbeat. Then he shrugged. Very well. Dawn soon. Catelyn met his gaze, seeking some sliver of remorse. She found none, but behind the arrogance she spied something else. Exhaustion like cracked porcelain. Perhaps the cell walls pinched. Perhaps the new realms will ground even lions. As she turned away, Jaime called, Tell Eddard I look forward to crossing swords once more. Though he'll lack his greatsword ice, I'm told. Melted for a stag's flamboyant new blade. Catelyn paused. Ice still hangs in the tower of the hand. Jaime's grin widened. Good. Some things should remain unchanged, even in a realm full of upstart dreams. Catelyn left. Outside, Edmure glowered. He'll break free if we so much as blink. Then we shall not blink, Catelyn said. Not once. East of Pike, Balon Greyjoy read a raven scroll from Tywin Lannister by lamplight in his salt-reeking solar. Offer. Lannister gold for a feint against Manderly grain fleets, thus forcing wolves to guard coasts and abandon river fords. Balon sneered. He cared little for gold. Yet vengeance tasted sweet. Winterfell once burned would indeed bleed honorable Starks. Still, he distrusted lions. They devoured allies once bones were picked. Balon crumpled the scroll, tossed it in brazier. We raid where we please, he muttered. Let seas decide. But in the shadows, Asha Greyjoy leaned against pillar, arms crossed. Father, Their gold buys us powder for ballistae, and a lion distracted is a she-wolf exposed, ripe for plunder. Balan eyed her, pride and disdain wrestling. Take 10 longships, harass the bite, burn grain ships, seize a fat merchant for ransom. Remind Manderley who owns the sea. Asha's grin flashed. As you command. She strode out, midnight hair bouncing. Balan turned to his youngest, Theon, who lingered uncertain. And you, boy? Theon stiffened. Robb trusts me. I can slip into Winterfell, seize hostages. Balan snorted. Robb Stark has wolves at his ankles and krakens gnawing keel. But go then, prove ironborn metal. He tossed a silver-rimmed horn cup. Theon caught it barely. Blow that when Winterfell sleeps, and gates will open for friend. Then slit throats and claim your seat. Something flickered in Theon's eyes. Fear, guilt, resolve. He bowed. Balan watched him leave, feeling both triumph and foreboding. Children bore knives that cut both ways. At the wall, the fist of the first men loomed as a black crown against aurora shimmer. Jon Snow dismounted, ghost padding silent. The Night's Watch camp sprawled under makeshift palisade, cook fires flicking orange at dawn. Lord Commander Mormont welcomed Jon with clasp of arm thick as oak branch. Scouts sighted fires in Frostfangs, Mormont said low. Wildlings mass. Mance Raider unites clans like never seen. Jon's mind leapt to Ygritte, to warmth and sadness. But he steeled his heart. If Mance moves, he has reason. Reason is one thing, Mormont said. Fear's another. They flee something. Sam Tarly shuffled up, parchment trembling in mittened hand. I found this, my lord. He produced shard of obsidian black as night, smooth as glass. Dragonglass, Jon breathed. Where? In a bundle with horn fragments, Sam whispered, half buried near ring of ancient stones. As if someone meant them found. Jon's pulse quickened. Horn fragments, Bran's dreams. He knelt, touched arrowhead edges that drank the dawn. The world seemed to hush, waiting. Keep it, Mormont said gruffly. We'll study after we fortify. But Jon felt fate's tug. He slid dragonglass into leather pouch, thinking of Bran sailing north. 2 threads drawing toward same knot. That night, a snowstorm cloaked the fist. Jon sat watch atop an icy ridge, ghost beside him. Through dancing snowflakes, he thought he saw torches winding far below. Wildlings? Or others? Wind carried faint call like horn, low and mournful. Ghost growled. Jon's breath plumed white. Soon, he whispered to the dark, all paths converge. In the Dreadfort, Roose Bolton sat before hearth of low flame that cast skin in corpse-pale hues. Opposite knelt a maester in gray, trembling. You read? Roose said softly, sliding parchment across table. Tell me the letter. The maester licked lips. From Lord Tywin. He offers dominion of the north should you end the Stark line. Gold, titles, Riverrun's daughter for your bastard, command of Harrenhal until winter's end, bolt of cold silenced. Roose leaned forward, pale eyes like moonlit ice. And what is my answer? The maester stammered. Roose's blade flicked, snuffing a candle. My answer, Roose whispered, is patience. He rose, adjusting ermine cloak. Boltons hunt when prey tires. Stark wolves run strong yet, but winter starves all. He gazed at Flayedman banner rippling faint heat. Send reply, I will cut throats when I choose, not before. And remind Lord Tywin leeches feed slow but sure. The maester fled with nods. Roose turned to window slit where snow blew like ash. Soon, he murmured. Very soon. Under a waxing moon, the Shadowcat sliced through waters as still as black glass. Storms had battered her hull 3 nights running. Yet she bore no leak, as though some unseen force guided around shoals and reefs. Bran spent days braced at prow, eyes closed, letting salt spray sting cheeks while dreams raced beneath eyelids. On the 5th dawn, land rose ahead, jagged cliffs of Skagos, white with hoarfrost. Goat paths zigzagged, bone totems creaked in wind. Captain Morik would have steered wide, but Bran called to beach. "We need water," Bran lied, the cask still half full. Truth burned behind his tongue. He felt a pull to set foot, a whisper of horn buried in stone. Davos eyed the cliffs uneasily but trusted. They rowed ashore through fog where seals barked. Summer bounded ahead. Mira stayed close, spear ready. Jojen drifted behind, humming an old song of the neck. Amid basalt pillars crown high, Bran felt ground hum. He placed palm on cold rock. Within, something thrummed like distant drum. Summer whined, pawing. Bran pushed mental fingers inward and glimpsed swirl of blue frost entwined with green dream. The horn, but faint, far below. Not here, yet call became clearer. "The horn lies north of seas," Bran murmured to Mira when they returned empty-handed to boat. This was but echo. Night fell, bringing aurora. Jojen's eyes glassed green. "The heart of storm draws." He collapsed. Mira caught him. Bran seized his hand, mind slipping into Jojen's vision. He saw towering ice spires, shadow shapes moving, and at their center a slab of black stone half buried in snow, upon which rested a horn curved like mammoth tusk, etched with runes that crawled like ants. A weirwood's face lay toppled nearby, its tears frozen mid-fall. From the horn's hollow mouth seeped mist that rattled like chains. Bran jerked back, blood nose-dripping. Davos shouted, sails snapped. Wind had shifted to gale. The Shadowcat rode waves like rearing stallion, heading ever north, and Bran, wiping blood, felt resolve like iron. The horn awaited in land of always winter, guarded by silent watchers. But to reach it, they must cross wild seas, slip past the wall, and survive frost beyond memory. The old gods guided, but mortal courage must carry the day. He turned to Davos, voice steady. "Set course for the Bay of Seals. We slip through the skirling past night after next." Davos studied the boy, saw in him something beyond childhood. He nodded. "Aye, my lord, wind willing." Bran gazed across deck where moon-pale glow rippled water. In that glow, for heartbeat, he thought he saw ravens soaring, wings beating in silent salute. South again, Stannis Baratheon convened council in Maegor's Holdfast. Sansa and Loras sat side by side, Tyrell heralds behind. Mace Tyrell not yet arrived, hindered by storm-tossed roads. Ned, Davos newly returned from White Harbor, Selmy, Maester Cresson, and Septon Reynard filled benches. Torchlight painted gloom. Stannis stood by table strewn with maps. Greyjoy raids hamper grain, yet the Reach offers harvest. To cement alliance, House Tyrell demands confirm wedding within Moon's turn. Sansa's cheeks flushed. Loras kept courteous mask.
"Ned inhaled."
Lady Sansa consents, but I seek provision. She may retain her gods, her north retinue, and voice in realm's charters. Lady Olenna, perched like sparrow, nodded. Done. If her dowry exempt taxes on Reach exports for 7 years. Stannis grunted. Agreed. He pricked finger, marked parchment with blood sign as old undull custom. Sansa signed next, hand steady though heart thudded. Ned signed last, feeling weight of futures. As scribes sanded ink, horns outside blared. A gold cloak burst in, breathless. Your Grace, Renly rides for the city, 600 Stormland knights under his stag banner. He claims right to stand at sister's wedding. Stannis' face closed like visor. 600 is host, not escort. Selmy said, blood between brothers must not spill within walls. Stannis exhaled. Summon Renly to the gate at dawn. He enters with 10 men, no more. Ned feared fissure wider than walls. He planned to stand between kings, remind them of Dragonfire days when family war doomed throne. And he prayed Bran's dreams did not speak of staghorns goring wolves now. Peter Baelish reached Harrenhal under cover of rain. The cursed castle's broken towers loomed like melted candles. He found Qyburn, ex-maester, in mold-stained hall tending wounded Sellswords. To him, Peter delivered charred scroll bearing Bolton sigil. Bolton wavers, Baelish hissed. We make him choose. Send riders north, feed tales of Tyrell armies marching on Moat Cailin. Tell the bastard of Bolton that Stark gold funds traps for him. Let paranoia kindle. Qyburn's eyes gleamed. Fear is strongest leech. It drains blood slow. Baelish smiled thinly. And I bleed the realm one cut at a time until ladder's mine. Lightning flashed. Harrenhal stones seemed to writhe. Peter pulled hood, feeling storm rise. In storms ladder swayed, but he would climb still. Atop the fist, the Night's Watch huddled around Sam's horn fragments. Stones parted beneath, and ghosts whispered. Jon traced runes with glove. They glowed faint blue. Suddenly, 3 blasts of horn echoed from below. 3, call of others. Men froze. Jon bounded to palisade, scanning snow swirl. Shapes lumbered out of dark. Elk horns, mammoth silhouettes. Not wights, wildlings, dozens, waving torches frantic. They reached gate shouting, "Others! They come!" Mormont ordered them admitted. Among them stood a tall woman with burning eyes. Ygritte. She locked gaze with Jon, snow in lashes. "Mance sent us," she panted. "The dead wake. We flee, but they follow. White shadows in ice armor, leading whites. They march south." Mormont cursed. "Rally every man. We hold the fist." Yet Jon's stare drifted to dragonglass pouch. Fate threads tightened. He knew then. The horn fragments Sam carried and Bran sought were parts of same doom. Reforged, they might summon night or shatter it. Jon squeezed Ygritte's hand, then drew sword. Above, Aurora flickered crimson. Perhaps blood's promise or dawn's. The Shadowcat slipped through skirling pass under pitch sky. Snow swirled, hiding moon. Bran, lashed to chair on deck, felt currents shift unnatural, as if world itself sighed. Suddenly torches flared along starboard cliff. Watch posts once manned, now whites perhaps. Arrows hissed, thudded mast. Sailors shouted. Davos steered hard. Mira loosed javelin. Pale figure toppled. Summer snarled at rail, eyes shining. Bran closed his own eyes, reached outward, and mind soared into flock of ravens perched on cliffs. He bent them to will, sent them screeching into attackers' faces. Confusion bought minutes. The ship cleared narrows, wind howled behind, carrying them into open bay where bergs drifted like ghosts. Dawn broke pale pink. Crew silent, shaken. Bran withdrew from ravens, breath ragged. He had never warged so many at once. But power answered need. Davos pressed a blanket around him. "Rest, lad. We're past worst." Bran shook head. "Worse lies ahead." He gazed toward horizon where icebergs glowed rosy and knew beyond them loomed land where Horn waited, where White Walkers marshaled, where men of Night's Watch stood besieged. Every beat of his heart sang same word: hurry. In King's Landing, Sansa awoke before dawn on eve of Renly's arrival. She walked Godswood, barefooted, to feel dew-chill stone, to remind herself she still touched ground. Ser Loras found her there, roses in hand. "I could not sleep," he said softly. "Dreams of my father's road delays." She smiled wanly. "And I of my sister at the wall of secrecy." He offered rose. She accepted, pricked finger, watch droplet bead. "Blood at a wedding," she murmured, recalling Bran's first dream. "We must not allow it." Loras's hand cupped hers. His eyes held earnest sorrow. "I swear on my spurs no harm shall reach you through my house." Sansa glanced at sky paling. "Then guard your brother's pride. 2 kings cannot dine in same hall without knives drawn." He bowed. "I will speak to Renly." As he left, Peter's mockingbird fluttered across her mind. She crushed rose between fingers until petals bled red, determination firming. She would be no pawn. She returned to chambers, wrote letter to father. "I will steer this wedding from blood, as Bran steered war. Fear not, I am steel beneath silk." She sealed with wolf rose sigil she designed herself and dispatched by swift boy to Tower of the Hand. Ned opened that letter an hour later, pride wetting eyes. He tucked it close and marched to gatehouse where Stannis and Renly faced across portcullis, armored but unsheathed, swords yet in scabbard. "Brother," Renly called, grin strained. "May I break fast in your halls?" Stannis's mouth twisted. "Enter as guest, not king." Renly dipped head. "An uncle then, come to bless a niece's union." The gate creaked.
Ned exhaled.
Another thread yet held. On Riverside between Maidenpool and Duskendale, Jaime's convoy crossed farmland mist-veiled. Catelyn rode near front, cloak over chain. Karstark's sons flanked Jaime, their eyes burning like coals. Sun hovered midday when arrows streaked from hedges. Karstark's raised shields. One son fell with shaft in throat. Out of barley rose men in flayed-man surcoats, Bolton riders. Chaos erupted. Jaime seized moment, wrenching reins from guard, spurring mount. Catelyn wheeled, intercepting with Tully bow. She loosed arrow that grazed Jaime's helm, knocking him sideways. Bolton's captain, a thin-lipped man bearing pink cloak, shouted, "For Lord Bolton, kill Stark woman, claim the lion." Riverrun knights rallied, meeting Bolton blades. Catelyn rode through melee, found Jaime on knees, sword drawn but guarded by Karstark's surviving son who now bled shoulder wound. Catelyn dismounted, leveled spear. "Yield," she snarled. Jaime spat blood, but eyes flicked to Bolton riders retreating. Karstark reinforcements approached. "Seems I must." He dropped sword. Bolton captain fled, leaving dead behind. Karstark's son wanted Jaime's head, but Catelyn spoke steel words of honor, threatening to end Karstark fealty should he touch prisoner. The young lord relented, though hatred simmered. They counted losses, field littered with flayed surcoats. Catelyn's heart hammered with horror at Bolton betrayal. She ordered Raven to Ned. "Bolton moved against us. Wolves bleed from within." She tended wounded, patched Jaime's brow. He watched her with new respect and unease. "You saved me from your own men," he said. "From traitors," she corrected. "My men keep vows. You will keep yours." His smile crooked again. Perhaps. Something shifted in Lyon's mind. The convoy pressed on double pace, wary eyes scanning every copse. That night, far north, Bran dreamed again. He flew above towering wall of ice, saw watchers battling dead that swarmed like ants. Blue eyes glowed in shadowed sockets. Steel shattered against them. Yet amid carnage, a horn note burst. A sound not heard in 8,000 years. So mighty the earth trembled. The wall cracked, spiderweb lines racing. Bran screamed awake on deck. Storm lightning split sky. The ship pitched. Sailors cried. He grasped Summer's fur, heart pounding. Horn must not sound. They must reach it first. He turned to Mira, voice hoarse. "We can't be late." She squeezed his hand. "We won't." As thunder rolled, Bran felt faint pulse from north, like giant heartbeat. He vowed they would silence that pulse before it shattered all. The horn fragments at the fist clinked inside Sam's pack as he scrambled through snowdrifts, fleeing icy claws. White shadows breached palisade. Dragonglass arrowheads pierced some, but not enough. Jon cut down Whites, shouted for retreat to South Slope. Ygritte fought beside him, axe whistling. Mormont ordered torch lines lit. Fire slowed dead, but winter wind snuffed flames. In that moment, Sam slipped on ice. Horn fragments spilled, chiming. A shard tumbled, sliding to cliff edge. Sam lunged, grabbed, and saw Rune glow bright blue. He gasped, cold shot arm. He stuffed fragments back, heart racing. Jon sliced white, snow spraying crimson. Ghost leapt, tearing at another's throat.
Jon glimpsed some scrambling, pack bulging.
"Keep them safe," Jon shouted. Sam nodded, tears freezing on cheeks. By dawn, Night's Watch survivors battered way to trail descending south. The fist smoked behind. White shadows faded but not gone. Jon glanced back, saw pale figures atop ridge watching, silent judges. And far south, Bran felt a flicker of that grim gaze, like ice on nape. He clutched weirwood token around his neck and whispered to Seize, "Hold on, Jon." Renly's feast for Sansa gleamed with candles and gold. Tyrell musicians played low harp. Dornish wine flowed, yet under silk smiles tension coiled. Stannis sat stone-faced. Renly laughed too loud. Lady Olenna watched like hawk.
Ned sensed peril.
Mid-course, galleys arrived with news. Tywin's host massing near Blackwater Bay. Steel shimmer scouts glimpsed. Stannis rose, voice commanding. "Brother, if you brought lions with you." Renly stiffened. "I march no lions. Tywin marches himself. Perhaps your levy of Stormland's knights would have stymied him, had you not seized my crown." Stannis's hand drifted to sword pommel. Loras moved to Renly's side. Selmy placed hand on Stannis's other shoulder.
Ned spoke kom.
"My lords, the realm's true enemy comes from ice and smoke. Stand united or perish." Sansa, emboldened, rose, voice clear. "My wedding day should not drown in blood feud. I beg you both, for sake of thousands, clasp hands." Silence hushed hall. Renly and Stannis locked eyes, tension like stretched wire. Then Renly chuckled, extended hand. Stannis hesitated, then clasped. Applause tentative, but hearts eased.
Ned exhaled.
Yet outside, in a tower window, Cersei Lannister watched through lattice, new jailer bribed. She smiled thin, whispered to shadow figure at her side. "Qyburn freed by Baelish's gold. Tonight," she said, "WH. I'll they feast, the lion roars free." Thus threads crossed, nodded. A boy in wheelchair sailed into storm. A bastard lord bled iron among snow. A mother drove lion to justice. 2 kings clasped gloves while traitors sharpened daggers. Krakens coiled. Foxes plotted flangs. Wildfire cooled, but embers smoldered. Above, ravens carried secrets to and fro, stitching realms with calls of doom and hope. And far beyond, in icy ruin lit by sickly green aurora, the horn of winter slept beneath drifted ages, its runes pulsing faint as heartbeat a waiting hand of boy who dreamed and walked with wolves. The world itself held breath, balanced on fulcrum of Horn's silent promise. Whether dawn or endless night rose next would hinge upon courage of children, honor of fathers, loyalty of wolves, and dreams green as new leaves. The tale spun on.